Hey, Claire.
Hello, hello.
How are
I'm
you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Yeah, really
I'm
good.
very I'm
Mhm.
very excited today because I've got the first word that somebody else has suggested.
Excellent.
So my lovely friend Rosaline sent me an email and said, "Oh, she had a word for me to present to you." She said, "Surprise Michaela with this one." So, so here it is. The word is ritual.
Mm, mhm. Yeah, I have all kinds of images coming up from this paganism, beating your feet around the fire, dancing, celebrating. It's so funny that that was the first thing that popped up. Mhm. Ritual. Like when I think about ritual, I think that, it's something that is, um, well, I see it two ways. That it's something where you're offering up to something else. I think that relates to my the paganism vision that popped up in my mind. And in the flip of that, it's, honoring something for yourself. So, and it's kind of this is so interesting because I see that ritual could be a wonderful thing. And I think that maybe that's how I like to look at it. Although I think it can really get sort of hooked in with routine and rules and those kinds of things. So something that may start out quite beautiful can quickly, grab you and pull you into a ditch or a rut. So, yeah, the best ritual that I can come up with would be to not have a ritual. To celebrate no ritual. But it's okay. Like if you're really clear about why you're doing it, like I have I I have an energy healing background, right? So I did Reiki, reflexology, body talk. I used to have a lot of where's the crystals.
Mm.
I'm holding a rose quartz in my hand, and I had actually tucked them all away. Like I actually did healings with crystals at one time, and in time it just and I have nothing against it, and if anyone ever wants to use a crystal in my healing, it actually I did a live event on Insight Timer yesterday, and the rose quartz, the energy of it came up in the way of a so and I brought it in, which was interesting. But it became where it didn't make sense for me to do it because I had these things that needed, that I needed to do. And it's just like, oh wow, I realized that I'm giving now I believe that the rocks of our earth they have an energy, a quality and essence to them, as we do, as we do. So I think it's totally cool to use them as long as it makes sense to, and be aware when it no longer does. And for me that's kind of what happened, where it's like, oh, I don't need these. I have direct access to source, and if there's an essence of it, it's going to come up energetically. So I don't need to bring these with and haul them with. I used to travel and do sessions for people too, who like couldn't leave their home or that kind of thing. I had someone with a brain tumor, and so I would go to him, and I used to take the certain crystals along to aid with that. And then yeah, eventually it's just like, you know what? Everything is coming from the same source energy. And yeah, there will be, just like living through us, animating through us, we each have a unique essence or quality to us. We can, sort of feel into each other. But it's like, that's there. I don't need to set up a certain, you know, ritual or routine to access that, Having said that, there are times, like I pulled this one out. I cleaned up my office several months ago, and I saw it, and it's like, oh, it called to me, and I put it on my shelf where I have a number of ones that are still caught in a box somewhere. So that's what first comes up about ritual. The word is lovely. Like it can be really lovely, but it can also really be limiting. Yeah. What comes up for you around ritual? Even saying the word. Ooh.
Yeah, well, I've had more time to think about it, I suppose, in a way, because I've known that this lady I know, this friend of mine, she'd actually obviously sent me the word a while ago, and for me there was a lot of reflection around how much of that was my way of being, the ritual of things like the miracle morning, really, those kind of daily practices that I felt like I had to do. And I love what you just said there, that knowing that that's what we're seeking in those rituals is always available to us. We don't need the rituals to get there. But for a long time, I couldn't see that. I didn't see that. I didn't see that I could live life at any kind of quality without these daily repetitious practices, I suppose, these daily rituals that I thought I had to do. And it was interesting when I, just over 4 years ago now, I kind of came across this understanding, and gradually, just over the months, it just those things just didn't make sense anymore. Like you were saying about, using the crystals in a particular way and kind of lugging them all. Sounds like that was heavy work to actually, like, physically and perhaps emotionally too, but definitely physically heavy work to be lugging all those crystals around with you. And that, like, for me, it just suddenly over those first few months of 2020, that just went, no, I don't, why am I even doing this? It just doesn't make sense anymore. They just fell away, and most have now. Even exercise was, I have to get up and I have to do this in the morning, and this is what it has to look like, and then and now I'm much more kind of flexible around that. I do quite often still exercise in the morning, but then I find out if I'm not feeling it, then I don't. And I'll just go for a walk later, or I will try and get some physical activity in my day at some point. But that used to feel like even that's kind of fallen away. And I guess maybe at some points in our lives, we kind of, it seems seen we don't need them, but it seems we need that level of structure. And that's often marketed as self-care. Having this kind of ritualized every day, you must get up and you must do, and that's how I saw it, right? This is me looking after myself, spending an hour every day doing this whole miracle morning malarkey. And that looked like me looking after myself. And now I see, like, really, if I'm connecting to my body in the moment, and I'm really sore from a walk yesterday, in the past I would have gone, no, but I've got to exercise because it's Monday morning and I always exercise when I get out of bed. Like I would have almost forced myself to do that. Now, I check in with how I am and how I am feeling physiologically and emotionally and everything else. Like, how am I? Am I in a fit state today? If I've walked 10 miles up a mountain the previous day, maybe I need a day off from exercising or working my muscles hard. Maybe I'll do a bit of yoga, or maybe I just won't do any exercise at all, and that's okay. But previously I would have made myself do it because that felt like otherwise I was letting myself down for not doing the ritual. The ritual was the self-care, and because I'd tuned into the people who say your habits make you, and you must have habits, and you've got to kind of get them. I kind of think ritual and habits are a bit in the same kind of when it's a so-called health giving, ritual or whatever, that that they have to be there in order for us to be okay. And if we're not doing them, we're kind of letting ourselves down. That's what it felt like to me. You're letting yourself down if you don't do this every day. And
Mm.
that just to me is nothing to do with the present moment, which is where we are gifted with this, when we are in the present moment, we're gifted with the moment by moment whispers of what is the next step, what is the thing to do. That's powerful. And we don't have that if we're just going, right, every day I've got to get up and do this every day, day after day after day. We're not really connecting. That's not real self-care to me. Self-care is listening to now and doing what arises now.
Yeah.
Have you ever had any of those kind of?
Oh my goodness. I probably have some right now, it's like they slip in. They slip in. Well, I'm almost so, what? I don't know. What one thing I was going to say, and maybe something will pop up of what is a ritual that I do. I kind of saw it at the end there, something you said around, it's like, yeah, if like this is what you're going to do, in essence, you're putting blinders on to the infinite possibilities that are available, when you're so you're cutting off. I actually saw these other strong words come up about, right, if I don't do this, then I'm not committed. I'm not being my word. I'm not, I've been exploring this it came up several months ago about being my word. And it's like, ooh, where am I not being my word? It overtook me for a while. And it was helpful. And then, and now I don't know that it is so much, but what I kind of notice in this is that in our ritual, our helpful ritual, we might see nice red shirt. Yeah. She just took off her outer sweater and she has this lovely red sweater underneath. I see that when we, in our ritual or whatever our routine or whatever it is that we believe we need to do, there may be something in there, but it may feel like we're pushing, but we need to do this because it's our ritual. We created it and it's going to be helpful for me. It's going to help me in some way. What I've noticed is when I let go, and this really, I see this with around my body and things that go on with my body. If I like point myself in the direction, I heard something new recently that it spun something. I had an insight around this whole not doing, because in the three principles community, we hear that a lot about there's nothing to do. You don't need to do anything. And it always, frankly, kind of annoyed me and irritated me because I have a very busy mind and I needed to create some things that I could do to allow my busy mind to be like, you go over here and do this thing so that I can be quiet and let something come in. What I heard recently that Sydney Banks said, who articulated the three principles, was point in a direction and then do nothing. It's like, okay, that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. And I actually do that in the way of what do I want? And it's more about what do I want to feel? So in the case of my body, it was like, what do I want to feel in my body? What do I want to experience? And it was like agility. So this was like over a year ago. And it's like, okay, now if little mind Michaela said, okay, Michaela, make your body agile. And I would have come up with all kinds of things that I would do to stretch and strengthen it and whatever. But I didn't do that. I just pointed in the direction of agility. And then all of a sudden, and it was all of a sudden, because I wasn't doing yoga regularly at all back then, barely at all, if ever. And I got this notion to do yoga, to start doing yoga. No, to just do it, not start doing yoga like regular. It was just like do yoga. It's like, oh, I did yoga. And then I got it again to do yoga again. It's like, oh, and then I saw myself doing yoga on the regular. So it doesn't mean in creating a ritual for yourself. So I could have said, okay, I'm going to start doing yoga like 4 times a week, and that will help me get more. I didn't do that. And if I would have felt push, I would have resisted it. It would have been against the grain of, the wisdom that's running through me. But when I just pointed in the direction of agility, wisdom came up with this, offered it, and it was easy. It was no pressure. It was almost like I observed myself doing it. So interesting. So, yeah, it's another way to look at the idea of doing a ritual or that kind of thing. It's like when you're just tuning in, like, what is the experience that you're looking to have? What is the feeling that you're looking for? And of course, it's always about a feeling. We're always being drawn or nudged towards something that's going to have us feeling more alive and expansive, or peaceful or calm or at home in our body. And when sort of getting in tune with that and allowing yourself to be open and nudged, some of those things that maybe you've been trying to force yourself to do for years might all of a sudden, just like that, become up as, oh my gosh, I want to do this, and it's so easy, and I'm seeing myself doing it. And then just let it be. Don't mess about in there. You don't have to go and figure it out, because what happens, especially with something that you've been kind of struggling with for a long time, there's a fear that's like, oh, this is coming so easy to me now, but is it going to last? Is it going to last? It's just like, when you recognize the place from where it came from in the first place, that inspiration, that inspired action, it's like that is trustworthy, and you don't need to question it. You can just trust it and go with it, because guess what? It's going to likely change. There's a really good chance that at some point it's going to know that you need Pilates more than you need yoga right now, or that kind of thing. And it'll guide you. So if you kind of get hooked in, because that's what we do, where our little mind kind of wants to hook on when there's something that's going good, and we want to like hold it fixed in place because we're afraid of falling back to maybe how it was in the past or whatever. And it's a fine line, but it's kind of like when you walk on a teeter-totter, you walk, and you can't plan, that there's a tipping point kind of thing, but you can't plan for, okay, I'm going to go this way, and then I'm going to move my body to the right and then to the left, and I might go forward. You don't plan that out. If you're wanting to balance, on the teeter-totter, you will go, and you'll know in the moment. You'll be nudged to turn this way or lean back or go forward or lift an arm or a leg, or that is how wisdom kind of works, and it sort of becomes easier.
So it's presence always, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fundamentally, it's what makes sense now, and not trying to be anywhere else but now. Like you said, that might mean, we get into a bit of a groove doing yoga, but then we want to do Pilates, and that makes more sense for whatever reason. Which
Yeah.
it reminds me I haven't done Pilates for ages, actually. It's quite like Pilates. Maybe even stuff. But we think we need. I did a live on Insight Timer earlier today, and it was about decision making, and this is the same kind of things were coming up in that, really, that we don't know beyond now, really. We just can do this next little whispered step, and then we see what feedback we get. We might go do yoga and then discover that actually we need to do something else because we're not quite there with the yoga yet. It's we're not bendy enough or strong enough or whatever. We want to do something else to kind of see, but without actually taking some kind of action, you can't know. And then you get a bit of feedback, and then you like the game of chutes and ladders that we call snakes and ladders.
Yeah.
Just got to keep rolling the dice, and you can only do that. You can't ritualize rolling the dice, can you? Because you just never know what number is going to come up, and then you'll know then how many steps to take and
Yeah.
how much you need to move forward. And that's it. Just keep rolling the dice, and it will all unfold as it's meant to.
Yeah.
True
that. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
That feels like a subject that could go in other places too.
Yeah, definitely.
Some things just make sense. It's really following what makes sense in the moment. And some things, like I was just imagining a family of like with a lot of kids, or even one, actually, it doesn't matter, a family. There might be it in whether you call it a ritual, routine, whatever, because I kind of see that they can all be the same thing. This repetition is like some make sense. It makes sense to take, if you have something that you need to thaw, it makes sense to go to the freezer in the morning and take out whatever it is and put, however you do your thawing. It makes sense to, do these things. So some things will make sense. And I guess that's the bottom line. If it makes sense, and you'll do it as long as it makes sense. And there might become a time where it doesn't make sense anymore. And it just is like, no, I think now I got this new funky tool that, like, I don't know, isn't there a fancy crock pot or something that you can put a frozen chicken in there and it, cooks it from that? I don't know. But it's like something else might make sense. And then maybe you'll do that until it no longer makes sense.
And I think that with the well-being activities that we were talking about at the beginning, that really emerges once you know how your system works better, like in this conversation, when you know that your feelings don't come from meditation or from any other kind of morning ritual you might do, or any other part of the morning ritual, and it just suddenly doesn't make so much sense to do those things. And it still might sometimes make sense to do them. Like I'm doing a little meditation on a morning at the moment, mainly because I don't want to get out of bed. It's a good excuse to stay in bed because it's dark and cold. But yeah, then, when you understand, I think that's why my rituals fell away, my miracle morning stuff, because, well, it didn't make sense anymore because I knew better how accessible that feeling of well-being was without doing the thing. I didn't need to do anything anymore. So yeah, it changes when we have insight, doesn't it? When we see things differently, the thing we were doing just automatically changes. There's no decision to make, or it doesn't feel like you've decided to change. It just changes by itself almost. Yeah. Fab.
Very good.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah. See you next time.
See you next time for sure.
Bye.
Looking forward to it. Ciao.